Hello, it's Tessa. Welcome to the third video in my color mixing series. So far, we have chosen a 6-color split primary palette and used these 6 colors to mix saturated and desaturated secondary colors. Do you remember my promise from my first video in this series?
There will also be no methodical and tedious mixing charts, where I have you mix every single color in your palette.
I was careful to mention methodical and tedious, because today I am going to be giving you a mixing chart exercise. Instead of taking the 12 colors we've chosen or mixed so far to make 144 color mixtures, we're going to simplify. One of the most interesting mixtures that comes out of these extensive mixing charts is the neutrals we can create. So I like to focus on that for this exercise. In total, painting this color chart took me about half an hour, so it's a much quicker way to get familiar with your colors and boost your mixing skills. In my secondaries mixing video, I discussed saturated versus desaturated colors. We learned that if you're mixing colors on the color wheel that cross closer to the center, you will get more desaturated colors. This exercise will push that idea even further by focusing on complementary colors. In theory, 2 truly complementary colors would mix to make a neutral gray. These complementary colors would sit exactly across from each other on a color wheel. Looking at a color wheel, you can see that each primary color is opposite a secondary color. These secondaries were mixed with the other 2 primaries. By adding that third primary, we are neutralizing or desaturating the mix. For this exercise, we will be taking our secondary mixes from the last video and mixing them with their complementary primaries. Start with a sheet of paper. Mine is about 8 by 10 inches. With a vertical line, divide your paper in half. Next, we will divide the paper into 6 rows. I like to make some extra vertical lines on each side of the center line and then towards the edges of the paper. These will be used to visually separate our purest colors used in the complementary mixes. Before you start painting, it's a good idea to label each color you'll be using in your mix. The center will be for our primary colors. Write each primary color's name on its own row, on either side of the center line. The outside edges are for our secondary colors. I'm keeping the saturated colors on the left and the desaturated colors on the right. Instead of writing the name of each secondary, write down the colors that go into each mix. Each yellow will share a box with each purple, each red with each green, and each blue with each orange. Now that all of our sections are labeled, we can start mixing and painting our complementary colors. I'd like to give credit to Sarah Burns for this particular approach to making mixing charts. I saw it first on her channel. I love that instead of mixing a 1-to-1 ratio of each color, this allows for a little more variation and experimentation. You can get wildly different colors from the same mix just by adding different amounts of each paint. I like to use a palette that has separated wells for this exercise, but any mixing surface will do. To start, I choose the 2 colors I will be mixing and paint those in at the ends of my section. This is why I made those extra vertical lines earlier. I make a puddle of each color in separate areas on my palette, and use these puddles to mix my new colors. We'll start by adding a little bit of our secondary into the primary color, just enough to nudge the color a little. Then paint this new mix next to the primary color on your paper. Without washing your brush, you can go back to the secondary color and mix the color from your brush in it. This should nudge the secondary color a little, and then you paint this mixture next to your secondary on the paper. Continue working like this, slowly nudging each color closer and closer to a balanced mix. It's okay if you realize you nudged a color too far. You can always add in a little more of one color or the other and paint it in the next spot. The goal isn't a perfect gradation of color. It's to get as broad a range of mixes as possible. I made 6 different colors for each mixture, which felt like enough to give me a good range. If you couldn't tell, I'm really not a fan of those big mixing charts, where you end up with a giant square with each of your colors mixed with each other. It can be helpful and calming to some people. The knowledge to effort ratio doesn't make this type of chart worth it to me. It takes so long to mix all those colors. You end up using a lot more paint that gets washed down the drain to make more mixing space, and you get so many redundant or unhelpful mixes. I really am not interested in what color I get when I mix two yellows together. I've already done a thorough mixing exercise to explore the range of secondaries I can get. And like I mentioned earlier, you're not getting a full picture of what mixes two colors can make when you are only making a 1-to-1 ratio. Some people decide they don't want to mix colors, and they would rather just buy every color they need. Aside from cost, I don't see an issue with this when you're talking about vibrant, saturated colors. But this exercise alone shows the huge range of grays and browns you can mix, way more than are available for purchase as a convenience color. Even browns straight from the tube are way more saturated than what is useful in a painting. Getting comfortable desaturating your colors with their complement is going to give you so much useful knowledge to bring forward into your future paintings. Look at this huge range of beautiful neutrals we got, just by mixing our split primary colors. In my next video, I want to take this knowledge we've been building and apply it to larger color sets. Stay tuned for video number 4. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.